Greetings everyone. Today we're going to explore literal equations, but specifically we are only going to work with equations that have x and y variables, and we're only going to isolate y. We do have a note sheet for this. If you do not have it, just jot these down in your notebook. First, let's talk about that word literal. What does literal mean? A literal equation is an equation that involves two or more variables. Now, specifically, we're only going to have two variables in this lesson, but I do have another video that expands this idea. And the biggest hint I can provide in this lesson is that we're not going to get nice, clean number answers anymore. Really, all we're doing is we're rearranging an equation, and so we're still going to have fractions and messy values and things being added and subtracted. Quick reminder of our 5 solving steps that we have been working on previously. Remember, our first step is to eliminate any parentheses with distribution. Our second step is to take care of like terms. Our third step is to move a variable by adding or subtracting. Next, we're going to add or subtract a number to the other side. And lastly, we're going to multiply or divide a number to the other side. Now, if you need help on any of these steps, see my previous videos. All right, so let's take a look. We are going to work on isolating y. So as always, we need to continue drawing a line down the equal sign. My next suggestion is to go and highlight or make the variable bold. So I'm trying to solve for y, isolate y, which means the y does not move. We're going to move everything away from the y. Now, if I think of my 5 solving steps, remember our acronym from our previous video? I don't have any distribution. There's nothing I can combine on the left or right side, but I am going to move a variable by addition or subtraction. And the variable I want to move is the letter that I need to get rid of. So right now I see a subtract 2x, so I'm going to add 2x. Now here's what's going to be weird. There is no x on the other side. So this side cancels as always, right? That looks normal. The 4y falls down. That looks normal. But on that right side, nothing happens. So here's what's new, is we're just going to leave it as 16 plus 2x. Okay, there's nothing to combine. It's just going to stay that way. The next step is addition or subtraction. Well, that only says 4 times y, so cross that off. And my last step says multiply or divide. And remember, our typical last step is division. We can continue that. So instead of y times 4, we're going to divide. Now here's where we're going to be careful. Every piece by 4. All right, let's see what happens. Okay, these are opposite force, so the y falls down. 16 divided by 4 is a nice clean 4. The plus sign falls down, but be careful here. This 2 over 4 is a fraction, and it's going to reduce down to a half. So we're going to leave it as 1/2, and then the x falls down, right? Because we didn't use that either. So we are going to have fractions, but they can just stay as a fraction. Let's try another one. We're going to draw a line down the equal sign. Our goal is to isolate y. Now, in this particular lesson, when I talk about my 5 solving steps, guess what? We're going to try to keep it to move the variable and multiply or divide. So let's jump straight to move a variable. Instead of a positive 6x, right? The y stays, so don't move that. We're going to subtract 6x. I'm moving the x to the other side. Opposites go away. 9, or I can't subtract an x from 9, so we get to just leave it. 9 minus 6x. Kind of makes it easier because we don't even have to calculate, right? The negative 3y falls down. All right, my goal is still to get y by itself. So again, we're going to jump to the last step. We're going to multiply or divide. Instead of times negative 3, divide every piece by negative 3. So opposites go away. The y falls down. Good, y is by itself. That's our goal in this lesson. 9 divided by -3, -3. Negative divided by negative is positive. Make that positive bold so you remember that. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and that x is just hanging out next to it. Now, in this lesson, all of our answers, just a little tip, all of our answers are going to be y equals some number with x plus or minus some number. Okay, that's our end goal in this lesson. Let's try this one. Draw a line down the equal sign. I'm going to revisit these 5 steps. All right, first thing, I have no distribution. Combining, I have 3 things, but none of them go together. So that's no good. Next is move. All right, we've been moving our x to the other side. Move the x. So instead of a positive 5x, we are going to minus 5x. You might be thinking, well, why the x? Because remember, the y is going to stay. Don't move the y. The y falls down, falls down, falls down. All right, if I subtract 5x from one side, I subtract 5x from the other. Let's see what falls down. 3y falls down, minus 10 falls down, and I have a 2 minus 5x. They don't go together, so we just get to write them. Here's what's a little different than the previous. I got a 10 there, right? That subtract 10's in the way, so I actually have an add or subtract step. Instead of subtract 10, let's add 10. Now, am I going to add it to the 2 or the 5? I'm going to add it to the 2. So the opposites go away. 3y falls down, and I can actually add something. We get a nice clean 12, right? Anytime you have just numbers, we should be able to do something with that. Our last step has been division over and over again. Instead of y times 3, we're going to divide every piece by 3. What you do to one, you do to all. Opposites go away, y falls down. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Negative divided by positive, negative. Does 5 divide by 3? It doesn't. And you guys, I don't want decimals here. Leave it as a fraction, okay? Plus the decimal's irrational. It goes on forever, so keep it, all right? And then the x, of course, falls down with it. Now, if you left it as 5x over 3, that's okay. But it's easier to write the x big like we have been. All right, our last example, draw a line down the equal sign. Our goal is to isolate y. Look at where the y is. Okay. All right, let's go through our 5 steps. This one is slightly different as well, right? Not every problem is going to be exactly the same. First of all, there's no distribution. Combining. Nothing can combine on the left, nothing can combine on the right. Move. Wait a second, there is no letter by the y. See that? So we actually get to skip that step. Add or subtract. Well, yeah, here we go. Now we can do something. This says subtract or negative 12. The opposite of negative is positive. So I'm kicking that over to the other side. Think of it as the y wants to be a loner. So everything needs to get away from that y. So on the right side, 3y falls down. But on the left side, those can't add. That is an x and a plain number. It stays as an x and a plain number. That's going to take some getting used to. We're used to putting stuff together. So we took care of the add or subtract. And my last usual step, right, is multiply or divide. Instead of y times 3, let's divide every piece by 3. All right, the y falls down. Negative 15 divided by 3. You can always divide letters, right? I can divide the number of people in class. I can divide how many donuts I ate today. But we can't add or subtract, right? So it's special rules. 12 divided by 3 gets me to a nice clean 4. So y is by itself. Everything's simplified. So again, every answer should look like, in this particular isolated lesson, a number with x and plus or minus a number. Okay? Now the moves to get there might look different. but in general, that should be our layout. Make sure, as always, you check out Google Classroom to see what our task is today. Let me know if you have any questions, and until next time, have a good one.